Hey guys, Shalana here. Welcome to the Bin Zone. On today's video, we're talking about the Netflix live adaptation of One Piece. And I can't believe I'm saying this. I've been watching the One Piece anime for 20 years. I've been reading the manga for over 15. And now we have a live action adaptation. And it's actually good. That says a lot coming from Netflix because we know Netflix hasn't had the best track record of good live adaptation. But here we are with One Piece. One Piece as a series has been around for over 25 years. One Piece was created in 1997 as a manga by Eiichiro Oda. A manga is a Japanese comic book. And from 1997 to this day in 2023, One Piece is still ongoing, still releasing chapters on a weekly basis, making One Piece one of the longest running stories ever told. And One Piece has translated from a manga and evolved into an anime. That anime was doing well enough to where the anime was brought over to America in 2004. That's when I was first introduced to One Piece. As a 12, 13-year-old, started watching One Piece, and now more than 20 years later, we have One Piece being translated into a live action TV series, not just any TV series. One Piece is one of the most expensive shows ever created with a budget of $15 million an episode. But One Piece is able to get away with that because One Piece might be the greatest story ever told, or one of the greatest stories ever told. And over the past 26 years, One Piece has able to traverse the globe and become one of the highest selling comic books of all time, one of the most recognizable IPs in human existence. Because overall, One Piece as a whole tells a beautiful story about human nature and overcoming our fears to achieve our dreams. Ultimately, One Piece just works on all fundamental levels. Because in the span of 26 years, Eiichiro Oda has created such a marvelous world, such a beautiful story, that story can translate across any medium. And now that it's a live action series on Netflix, a lot of people who don't read manga or don't watch anime can watch the story, and a lot of people are giving positive feedback because the story itself is such a beautiful story. Essentially, the story of One Piece follows the character of Monkey D. Luffy as he goes on this journey to become king of the pirates. That sounds basic enough, but when you dive deep into the mythology of One Piece, the world of One Piece, the world building, the subject matters that One Piece touches has an audience for everyone. At its core, One Piece is a story about individuals fighting for their dreams, living their lives the way they want to. A story that resonates with anyone all across the globe because everyone has dreams. And at its core, that's what One Piece is about. But it also tackles a bunch of other super serious subject matters. One Piece as a whole just traverses any expectations you have ever had of it. So let's talk about Eiichiro Oda for a second, the creator of One Piece. We don't know much about him because he lives his life in anonymity. Because One Piece is such a huge phenomenon, Oda himself being the writer cannot be seen in public. I do want to sidetrack a little bit and talk about race because Oda's characters are global as a whole. They're from all around the world because One Piece as a whole story is a world of piracy, different seas. The world is connected, so of course different races interact, live with each other and all that. And with the casting of some of the characters I saw online, there's been a lot of drama about some characters' skin tones, and we know what that shit's about. Every time there's a live action, every time there's anime, whatever, we know there's certain sects of society that have issues with people of different races playing different characters, especially black women. So I don't want to give that too much shine, but I do want to point out that if you're a fan of One Piece and you're criticizing the casting of certain characters and their skin tones, you're completely missing the entirety of the point of the story of One Piece. And overall, Eiichiro Oda is one of the greatest storytellers that has ever told a story, and he's up there with the likes of Tolkien, J.R.R. Martin, and some of the greatest storytellers we have ever known. The mind of Oda is what makes him truly such a great storyteller. Oda was able to create this magnificent story where it's not just the character building of One Piece. If you saw the live action adaptation, you see how the characters grow. But in the anime and the manga, we go deeper into the characterization of not just the main characters, but side characters as well. Even in this first season, we see the clash of Arlong and Luffy. We see Arlong as a character is a character who's vile, despicable. He killed a girl's mom right in front of her. But at its core, Arlong is fighting for rights for his people. Arlong is fighting for race relations And Arlong is doing a his methods are fucked up, but at its core, it's for his fellow fishermen. In the show, we see that even though Luffy and his crew leave an area, the lives that they touch still continue. Buggy still goes on his adventures. Side characters are moving constantly because Oda's world is ever evolving, and the concept of this One Piece world, the world he created, the world building alone, I think One Piece has by far the most detailed world building you will ever see. The power system, the scaling, just the way it works. One Piece as a whole looks goofy, and some of the things look like they don't make sense, but they all fit within a rule that Oda has created. So he's able to create this playpen for himself to write, and he creates some of the best stories. And One Piece started off as a comic book, so he might not get the respect that he deserves, but Oda is up there, like I said, with Tolkien, J.R.R. Martin, J.K. Rowling, C.S. Lewis, some of the greatest storytellers ever, because the story he created is so dynamic, so organic, so ever-evolving and fluid. And the fact that it started off as a comic book, I mean, it's still going on as a comic book. It's 26 years in, and he's still writing chapters. He's still evolving the world because the world itself is organic and it lives. What sets Oda apart from these other storytellers and what makes him so dynamic is the fact that One Piece is a contemporary story. I know it takes place in a faraway mystical land dealing with pirates, but the themes of One Piece translate throughout human history. At any point in time, all these things that One Piece tackles is something that humans as a whole have been tackling since the beginning of time. And we see throughout the first 8 episodes that this story is really tackling some deeper issues here. And I know you guys see the skin tone and the characterization of Arlong. He's clearly black, listening to trap music with his boys in Arlong Park, gambling and doing all that. We see the tone that is showing, and as evil as Arlong is, you can kind of understand fighting for the rights of others. His dream is pure rights for fishermen, but he bastardized it. And that's a big theme of One Piece, people's dreams failing out. So that's why One Piece as a story is able to translate across so many different mediums. And the beautiful part about One Piece is the fact that Luffy's character is Brazilian, Nami is white, Sanji is white, Zoro's Japanese, Usopp is African. Like, we see the main crew being diverse, and then, not to spoil it on, but later on we get more diverse characters. So, and with that diversity, everywhere we go, every part of Oda's world is beautiful, and in the live action, they take time to create these worlds. We see ourselves immersed in this universe. While it can come off as goofy, Luffy's powers can be goofy in the live action, and some things are a little cringe. We see that the core of the stories work. The first 2 episodes with Romance Dawn, Luffy and his crew getting together, the Buggy episodes, phenomenal. 3 and 4 with Usopp and his, to this day, that might be the weakest segment in all of One Piece. Whether it's live action, those 2 episodes in that mansion is by far better than the anime and manga versions, because I'll get into that later, but the pacing of this series works. And then you have Sanji's episodes, and from episode 5 until the end of this first season, One Piece hits its stride and doesn't look back. I laughed, I cried, I felt all these emotions, and fans alike, people who have read One Piece, people who've watched the anime, and people who've never seen One Piece, have all gone through this ring of emotion to grow from a very niche subsect of Japanese culture to this global phenomenon. It started off as a comic book, and within 2 years of serialization, that comic book was popular enough for studios to be like, hey, let's turn this to an anime because this story is good enough that people would want to see it on TV. That started making money. One Piece then went, hey, this story's so good, let's translate it to other languages because other people want to hear about it, and that anime spread throughout the world, and that's how One Piece became one of the greatest stories. One Piece as a manga has outsold some of the greatest comic books characters of all time, and that just speaks to the volume of the story. And then for them to go, hey, we have enough money that we can visualize some of the over-the-top characterizations that Oda has. Let's put $15 million an episode into this. That just goes to show you the belief of just how good the story is. And it worked. It worked. Where other live actions failed, One Piece worked because the story of One Piece is phenomenal. One Piece can translate any medium. We see how race plays a part in a subplot of there. We see how people's dreams and blockades, Luffy, Zoro, and how his crew dynamic works. We see Sanji's relationship with Zeph and how that evolved over time through flashbacks. These characters are alive, dynamic, because at its core, the values of the characters, the world that Oda has built, and the overall messaging just translate no matter where you put it. And we can talk about the universal appeal because One Piece can appeal to various different things. I don't want to spoil the later seasons coming in, but gender identity, geopolitics, race relations, as we saw with the Fishmen already. And again, I don't want to dive too deep into spoiler territory, but if we get more seasons, which I believe we're getting at least 2 to 3 more seasons because this show is phenomenal and the reception is through the roof. In just 8 episodes, that just goes to tell you the prowess of the world that Oda has built. The real question is, how does this live up as an adaptation to the story of One Piece? The anime, hugely successful. The manga, even more so. How does this live action work? And I have to say, as a TV show, standalone, let's separate it from the One Piece mythology. Let's say this show was just what it is. A show about pirates, as is, without being tied to the previous things. It would work. Like, this show stands alone. Even if you know nothing about One Piece, it's good. The themes that Oda has translate so well into the show. And I'm gonna say, fuck it, I'm here. I actually like this first season of the live action better than I like the first season of the anime. And I watched the first 62 episodes of One Piece before I watched the anime, and it's good. It's a good anime, but it was 62 episodes long. This show was able to take, I want to say damn near 50 episodes and condense it to 8. Whether it's the live action, the anime, which I rewatched, or the manga, which I also reread. The manga itself is strong, but this beginning arc of One Piece is the weakest in terms of the overall enjoyability of One Piece. As the story of One Piece expands, the story gets so much better. So I can only imagine just how great it's going to be as the seasons go on, because One Piece as a story, again, I have to keep harping on the fact that this story is phenomenal. And because of that and its adaptability, I can see One Piece as a live action continuing, and One Piece is kind of breaking the live action curse because no live action has been as good as One Piece. Even with a faster paced live action, we're able to resonate with these characters more. And the changes that the live action makes, introducing characters earlier than they did it in the previous incarnations, which is the manga and the anime, like Luffy's grandfather Garp, those parts actually work here because One Piece as a whole, the world is so big and there's so many different moving parts. A lot of times we won't see a character for episodes. I'm talking about over 100 episodes or hundreds of chapters, but we know their story's evolving, just like in this show, Garp's evolving, his character, his storyline is actually happening. Kobe's storyline is actually happening. Whenever Luffy leaves an area, the story's not done. Those characters are not over with, and I like that. And the things that they cut in the live action makes it work as well, because they cut out a lot of bullshit. Like, Don Krieg was not necessary. We were able to convey Sanji's character, the essence. Sanji probably had some of the better episodes this entire season, and that was with cutting a lot of things that I felt like were good, but we could do without, and clearly we were able to do without. And the fact that this ludicrous world exists now in live action, $15 million per episode, I might add. We're gonna keep harping on that number, but it just works phenomenally, I might add. As a story, like as a One Piece original series, let's say this was a One Piece original series, there was no manga and anime, you sat there and watched it, this would work. The story works, the characters are compelling, it makes you like them, and even the ridiculousness of naming your attacks and some things that I would have found cringe and stupid like 5 years ago had it been done works. And that's also because of Oda's attachment to the story. Oda would not let Netflix release a subpar product. He created this world. He's so involved in making One Piece the greatest story ever that he had a direct hand in the creation of the show, the casting, because these are his characters, in essence, his baby, his story, and he knows the essence of it, so he's able to let them, with his guidance, translate it and make it work. I could see One Piece being a video game. I could see One Piece being a podcast. I could see One Piece being a book. I could see One Piece being told in a series of paintings because the story and themes One Piece works, but again, this is just the first season and it could go downhill from here depending on the budget and what Netflix decides to do, because right now at 15 minutes an episode, this is pretty tame. One Piece can get over the top really fast, and with its over the topness comes greater CGI, greater budget. So I don't know if it can span the entire length of the One Piece story, but if it can go up to a certain point, Alabasta arc, I want to say, the story of One Piece can translate and reach a whole new audience. And that's what great storytelling is all about. If One Piece is able to touch anybody, the themes that it's going to explore, some of the it's going to resonate with somebody if it's given the room to grow, given room to become what it is. And with Oda's guidance, with this being one of the greatest stories ever, One Piece, I have no doubt, will be, it already has broken the live action curse and is one of the best stories ever told in any medium. And I just want to hear your thoughts about it in the comment section below. I know the first season wasn't, oh my god, craziness, but from a live action adaptation, it's great. And the crazy goodness doesn't come until later on. The first season of One Piece in the anime, the first few volumes of One Piece in manga, and the first live action season are good, not great. But because the way One Piece connects with different various themes and stories and structures and races and struggles, and personally, as the human experience goes, we as humans can resonate with these characters because, like I said earlier, we have dreams, we understand family dynamics, we understand hardships, we all can relate to these characters, and overall, some of the themes are strong as hell. These characters are strong and dynamic. The Sanji moments, the Nami moments, the Zoro moments, I mean, just phenomenal. So that's why One Piece works. It works because the characters are dynamic, the story at its root works, and I don't think every other live action is gonna make this work, but One Piece did it. One Piece did it, and that's a testament to great storytelling. But the story gets so much better, and if we can translate that, we can continue adapting it as good as it is now, One Piece, I have no qualms in saying that One Piece could actually become one of the greatest TV shows alongside Game of Thrones, The Wire, because of just how great the material is and just the faith I have in the story. But I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Did you like One Piece? What didn't you like? What do you want to know more? And try to keep this spoiler free for later on, because One Piece is a story best served going in blind as we follow along with the characters. But guys, that's my thoughts on the live action One Piece. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. And guys, until next time, binge on.